Got some breaking news in the seat of Bradfield. Let's bring in our chief election analyst, Tom Connell. Tom, what's the latest?
This is tightened right up. I'll show you the margin because our viewers will remember the final few votes when they were decided actually got Nicolette Boele back in front compared to Gisele Kapterian. So the votes were going pretty well. Look how tight this is now. If you look at the decimal points, we need to go to a third decimal point to have a leader here because this vote has narrowed. Nicolette Boele got as far as 43 ahead before this week, and now it's closed down to 7. So what's happened? How does this happen? Before this week, we've had 2 counts over all the votes. This week is effectively a third count. They call it the full distribution of preferences, where they count from the bottom candidate up. It's also a chance to check through the votes. So is there an informal vote that was counted as formal, for example? The numbers might not have been written out correctly all the way to the end. That often has a vote or 2 change hands, maybe 5 or 10. What's happened today to close this by an extra 22 votes, because it did close from 43 down to 29, was there was an error found in input. So there was a batch of votes where instead of saying it was a plus 11, it should have been a plus 11 to the Liberal candidate, Gisele Kapterian. It said plus 11 to the independent, Nicolette Boele. So you reverse that and you, in one fell swoop, a difference of 22 votes. So right now where we're at, just 7 votes. As I said, you need to go to a third decimal point to actually get a leader in this. It is still the lead for Nicolette Boele. You'd always rather be in the lead this late in the contest, but this has really made this contest on a knife edge again.
So 7 votes, that is extraordinary, down to just over a handful of votes. What happens next then?
So we haven't yet finished this full distribution of preferences where every vote is checked again. At that point, clearly, on the numbers here, we go to a recount because the AEC's convention is a recount under 100 votes. And a recount is a full look at every single vote again. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean a lot of votes change in this recount because, as I've explained, we've already had 3 goes at all these votes. There are a lot of them. So you've got talking 112,000 votes. And for that reason, there's always an element of human error that can creep in and change a few votes. As we've said before, the average amount of votes a recount has changed is about 22, Kieran. So well within the scope of 7. It doesn't mean it changes one way or another, though. It could go 22 the way of Nicolette Boele. So I'd still rather be ahead, no matter what at this stage, even 7. But clearly there is a much increased chance now of Gisele Kapterian winning this seat. Before this, you'd put her chances probably at 10 or 20%.
Yeah.
Now, you have to bump that up now. Put a percentage on it might seem a bit academic. Maybe she's up to 40. You'd rather be in front, but this could definitely go either way now. So one little transposition error, they call them, 22 votes different. So back to 7.
Wow.
Bradfield's the seat that keeps on giving. Calwell, I should mention as well, just quickly, that one, we're still getting the full distribution of preferences as well. We're getting them knocked out bit by bit. It looks as though it will be Labor, either against the Liberal Party, in which case Labor win, or Carly Moore. The way these preferences are flowing, Carly Moore's going a lot better than Joseph Johanna, so it looks like he won't get into that final 2. So she's the chance to knock off Labor, but she needs a pretty high preference flow of sort of high 60s. So keeping an eye on Calwell as well, but just a lot of interest, obviously, more so on, I guess, what the Liberal Party numbers get to, whether Labor gets to 93 or 94. Look, it'll matter to them. It'll mean they get the most ever seats equal with John Howard in 1996. So I'm sure, Labor is still watching this more closely. We'll keep an eye on Bradfield.
Yes, indeed. 2 very different seats, but as you see with the race so close between those 2 and then that Melbourne Cup field, it's such a complex count.